Hello my dear students. Today we are going to take the topic resource and development. This is the first chapter in your 10th class geography. First of all, we should know the definition of resource. I have already written it on the board. The definition is anything which satisfy our needs provided that is economically feasible, technologically available, environmentally sustainable and socially acceptable. Before saying anything it is a resource, it should fulfill these four criteria. First of all, it should satisfy our needs and it should also fulfill these criteria. The criteria are it should be economically feasible. That means we should be able to pay. We should have that money so that we can expenditure on it. Then only we can say it is a resource. After this criteria, next criteria is technologically available. We should have the technology to access that resource. Through technology, we access many resources. If we have the technology to access the resource, then only we can say it is a resource. Next criteria is environmentally sustainable. That means it should be eco-friendly. It should be environment-friendly. It should not harm our environment. Next and last point, that is very important point, that is socially acceptable. Our society should accept it. They should allow the government to make use of that very resources. Our culture, our religion comes in that social acceptance. So we can say when anything, when it will fulfill these criteria, then and only then we can say it is a resource. In this chapter, our main focus is the relationship between resource and development. I have already made here one triangle, and at the head of the triangle, at the top of the triangle, I have written this nature, and at one side I have written technology, at the other end I have written institutions, in between I have written human beings. That means the process of transformation of things available in our environment involves an interdependent relationship. That means human beings interact with nature through technology and create institutions to accelerate their economic development. Here we can say there is nature and humans are interacting with this nature with the help of technology, and then only they are creating institutions. So humans and their cycle of development will determine how developed or underdeveloped a nation is. So we can say there is a close relationship between the resource and development, and this close relationship is being governed only by the human beings. Their skill, their knowledge, their advancement will determine how a country, a nation, how developed or underdeveloped it is. Now we will see types of resources. We can classify resources on four bases. First is on the basis of origin. On the basis of origin, resources can be divided into biotic and abiotic resources. Biotic resources are those resources which are living or which we get from the living things. For example, man, forests and coal. These are biotic resources. Abiotic resources are those resources which are non-living. For example, sand, minerals, stones, etc. Next is on the basis of exhaustibility. On the basis of exhaustibility, resources can be divided into two, that is renewable and non-renewable resources. Resources can be divided into two, that is renewable and non-renewable resources. Renewable resources are those resources which get renewed within a shorter period of time, which get renewed continuously. For example, solar energy, wind energy, etc. And non-renewable resources are those resources which takes millions of years after getting exhausted. they take millions of years to get renewed. Example is coal and petroleum products. Next category is on the basis of ownership. On the basis of ownership, resources can be classified as individual, community-based resource, national, and international resource. International resource. Individual resource means which our own private property includes in it. I have got a car, you have got a house, this is individual property. Then resources that belong to a community. For example, public parks, graveyards, temples, they belong to a particular community. They come under the category of community resources. That next is national resource. What is national resource? Anything which comes under the political boundary of any country is called a national resource. Now we have to see here one more thing. Individual resource and community resource also comes under national resource, because everything which is present in a nation that belongs to the government. So we can say individual resources and community resources together, we can say it is a national resource. And if we have got coastline, then 12 nautical miles, or we can say 19.2 kilometers in the oceans also comes in the national resource. Then beyond 12 nautical miles, what remains is international resource. International resource belongs to the international communities like UNO. And the last criteria for types of resources is status of development. On the basis of status of development, resources can be divided into actual resource, potential resource, stock resource, and reserves. So what is actual resources? Resources whose quantity is known as actual resources, whose quantity and quality is known, and those are already being used in the present. Those are known as actual resources. Potential resources are those resources which are found in a region, but due to the lack of technology and because we do not have the quality and quantity of that very resource and we are not utilizing it at present, that is known as potential resource. Potential resource example, uranium in Ladakh is the example of potential resource. We know there is uranium in Ladakh, but we don't know how much it is, and we are not carrying out from the reserves. Okay, next is stock resources. Stock resources, materials which have the potential to satisfy human needs, but due to the lack of technology we cannot use it. वो resources जिनको हम यूज कर सकते थे अपनी रिसोर्स, अपनी जो नीड्स है उनको फुलफिल करने के लिए, बट वी डोंट हैव टेक्नोलॉजिकली दे आर नॉट एक्सेसिबल टू अस, दैट आर पुट इन द category of stocks. Next is reserve. Reserves are those resources which are ready to use, but we are conserving it for the future generations. We have got that resource, we have within us that much resource, but we are conserving it for future generations. Generation of hydroelectricity is one example of reserves. We have the technology, we have the economic that means feasibility, and we have everything, but we are not using it fully. we are saving something, conserving something for the future generations. So this was all about resources, resource and development, relation between resource and development, the types of resources. Hope you have liked it. If you have any query or question after going through this topic, you can ask that. I will clarify that. Good day.